Our top focus on the special broadcast on India Today is over the horrifying story that came in from Karnataka's Dharmasthala. We've been reporting on this here on India Today for the last many days of a former sanitation worker at the Dharmasthala temple claiming that for decades he was burying bodies in Dharmasthala. Now, he's not said exactly where, but according to him, the number goes to hundreds. That over decades, over many years, he buried little girls' bodies, women's bodies, and he claims that these were victims of rape, who he then buried, and he claims all of this was a cover-up. Who's the accused? Who was he doing this for? Well, he hasn't really named anyone just yet. In his complaint, which we'll take you through in just a bit, the former sanitation worker has said that there are very influential people involved, that he needs full protection before he reveals all the details. But after India Today had reported on the story, after sustained pressure from us, the Karnataka government has finally acted. The state government has formed a special investigation team to probe these chilling allegations of disappearances, of sexual abuse and murders spanning over 2 decades. Here are all the details first.
It's a big India Today impact. After days of relentless focus on the alleged Dharmasthala mass murders, the Karnataka government is finally taking strong action. Chief Minister Siddharamaiah has now ordered a full-fledged SIT probe into charges of disappearances, sexual abuse and murders. A special investigation team or SIT headed by top cop P Mohanty will investigate the claims and ghastly crimes in and around the holy town of Dharmasthala.
To look into Dharmasthala issues, there has been a complaint, there has been a public hue and cry. Government has taken note of all this and then constituted an SIT to look into this entire thing.
This move is welcomed by Karnataka BJP.
SIT ರಚನೆ ಆಗಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಧರ್ಮಸ್ಥಳದ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದವರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನು ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ವಿಚ್ ಹಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಧರ್ಮಸ್ಥಳ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತ ಜನ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಇದುವರೆಗೆ ನಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲಿಯ ಸ್ಥಳೀಯರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಥಳೀಯ ಪೊಲೀಸರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ.
Long ignored patterns of missing women, unnatural deaths, murders and sexual assaults in Dharmasthala spanning more than 2 decades will now be probed. The investigation began gaining traction after a whistleblower came forward with horrifying claims. He alleged that corpses of several women and girls, including school students, were found naked, bearing visible signs of violence and possible sexual assault. The whistleblower says he was threatened, warned that he too would be cut into pieces if he spoke out. Now families of the missing are breaking their silence. Sujata, whose daughter went missing during a college trip to Dharmasthala in 2003, says she was assaulted and silenced when she sought justice.
ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಾನು ಬಂದೆ, ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು 4 ಜನ ಬಂದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಗಳನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಕೈಯೆಲ್ಲ ರೂಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಹಾಕಿ ಕೈಯೆಲ್ಲ ಕಟ್ಟ ಹಾಕಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಗಾಯಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ.
From ignored complaints to buried bones and silenced testimonies, every unanswered question now demands attention as the SIT steps in. Across nation, there is one hope: justice, truth and dignity for the daughters who were possibly failed. With Sagay Raj, Bureau Report, India Today.
Absolutely shocking details that have emerged there from Karnataka's Dharmasthala. What really is the truth? This whistleblower claims that he helped in burying hundreds of bodies. Is that really the case? I want to bring in Sagay Raj, who's been tracking all the latest updates on the story. Sagay, finally, you've had the Karnataka government ordering an SIT. The special investigative team has already kicked off its probe, we understand. But the focus right now will be on whether we're going to be also seeing an exhumation happen soon. Sagay, for that to happen, is it on the basis of what the court decides, or can the government go ahead and do it?
I just spoke to one of the lawyers. He said that he don't require court's permission for exhumation, and in fact, if the police requires, they have to inform the court and go ahead with the exhumation. And if you notice that it is a big case, and FIR was a complaint was registered on 4th, and the ex-sanitation worker has given a statement on 10 days after registering a complaint. And if you notice that despite these many days, there is no headway, and in fact, he had given the statement after police assured that they will give the witness protection to him. But the same police, however, released a press release. The SP of Dakshin Kannada gives a press note stating that he might abscond after showing the place where he has buried the bodies, because it is quite shocking, because the police themselves are saying that he might abscond because he is under the observation of the police. The police is giving him a protection, and he is a part of the crime if he shows the dead bodies, and they can immediately arrest him at the spot. But why the police have to give these kind of press release saying that he might abscond, and there was no headway, and the police was reluctant to exhume the bodies, and even they are reluctant to go ahead with the case, and there was no press meet about this. There was just a press release, and this is not a tradition in the state of Karnataka. If you notice that there were multiple cases that have been reported in last 15 years, and in those cases there were no instances where police was reluctant to speak. Either the SP or the head of the department will come out and speak about the cases. But in this particular case, Dakshin Kannada SP remained to be silent, and in fact he issues a press release after press release saying that they have registered an FIR, they will investigate, but he was not giving any kind of details about the investigation, because the crux of the story comes, Akshita, only when they exhume the bodies from that burial place where he claims that he has buried the dead bodies. Unless you don't exhume the bodies, whatever the theories, whatever the explanation that the police can give, it's just lip service. You will not end up in the investigation.
You've raised the right question, and we're going to be talking about that. But Sagai, thanks for joining us for the moment. I want to bring in on this broadcast Sriram Nayak, an advocate and petitioner who's also in fact sought for a court-monitored probe in this particular matter. We also have A.S. Ponnanna, senior advocate, MLA of Virajpet constituency and legal advisor to the Karnataka Chief Minister. Mr. Ponnanna, I'd like to begin with you. The question that Sagai asked about why we've not seen an exhumation yet, that perhaps will answer all questions about what's happened in Dharmasthala, whether there is any truth to what this complainant has said. Why has that step not been taken yet?
No. See, madam, these are all aspects purely in the realm of the investigation. How investigation must go on, what the police must do, is beyond anybody's jurisdiction, and must be left purely to the investigating agency to go about their work. All I can say is that end of the day, whoever has accused, whoever has been accused of, everyone must are in favor of getting to the truth. All of us here are working towards unraveling the truth. That is the end of the matter, if you
The
ask
challenge
me.
here, however, Mr. Ponnanna, is, if you look at the details that have emerged in this particular case, the first time that we actually heard of these allegations was a month ago, on June 22nd. 1 month on, now you've got an SIT being formed. So there will be questions about whether the government kind of woke up late to what's happening in Dharmasthala and these allegations.
No, see, the allegations also, we must understand, relates to incidents which have happened some time ago. Not all of them are immediate in nature. Therefore, criminal law being set into motion has its own process. I'm not trying to defend the time period, but all I can say is now we have constituted an SIT. It is headed by a DG rank officer, and going down, top IPS officers are part of the SIT who have great skills and experience in investigating crimes. I'm sure they will get to the truth, and they will come out with the real facts.
Okay, let me bring in also on this broadcast Mr. Sriram Nayak. Mr. Nayak, you've sought a court-monitored probe into what's happening in Dharmasthala. Why is that? The government has already set up an SIT. Why do you feel the need for a court-monitored investigation in this?
Madam, it has been done today. The court-monitored probe is only because the allegations are kind of very heinous. And the court, if in case the court monitors, there will be no interference of anyone. If the court monitors every week whatever has to happen or whatever has happened, then the probe will be on a right track. That is what we feel. Then that is why we had filed the letter petition before the High Court.
What do you think so far of really how the government has reacted to what's happening in Dharmasthala and these allegations?
As there was a delay, the FIR was filed on 4th July. Today we are on 21st July. So there is at least 3 weeks time. And after 14th July, when the witness gave his statement, that statement was leaked in the YouTube also, which is kind of disturbing. So that is basically that is the reason for which we have filed this petition, so that the court looks at it. Whoever has leaked that statement which the victim has given, not the victim exactly, the complainant. So that has to be probed into and looked at it in a serious manner. That is all is needed, nothing else.
This is the challenge, Mr. Ponnana. This is, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, an extremely sensitive case. Looking at what the complainant has said, he claims that, there are high-rung officials, part of the temple administration who could be involved in this particular case. There are attempts to gag the media also in this particular case, as you may have noticed. And then there are questions in such a sensitive case about whether there's a possibility of witness intimidation, which is why there's so much scrutiny on the probe right now. The faster the exhumation, perhaps the faster we get to the truth. The longer this SIT investigation happens, there's a lot more chance of tampering, of, intimidation to happen.
I do appreciate Mr. Naik's apprehension, and I can understand where he's coming from. But all I can say at this point in time is let us allow a free and fair investigation, which the state government assures Mr. Naik and everybody involved, including the accused are also stakeholders, complainants are stakeholders, victims are stakeholders. All of us as members of society are stakeholders when a crime is committed, because a crime is against society. All I can say is that be you ever so high, the law is above you. So the law will take its course. There will be a transparent and free and fair investigation into the matter. And if at all anybody is guilty, they will be brought to book.
Okay, that is reassuring definitely to hear, the fact that there have been these kind of messages that have come in from you, Mr. Ponnana. I also want your response to some questions that have been asked of political influence, of political interference in the investigation. Would you want to clear the air on that? Because there have been claims, particularly by the BJP, saying that these are attempts to tarnish the image of Dharmasthala.
No, the BJP is a desperate organization in Karnataka. Let us not deal with their statements and accusations. I think they have more to worry about than making accusations against the government. Like I've already said, there will be no interference. There was no interference. You can be rest assured, and we have a very proactive, public-spirited petitioner also with us. He can always move court if he finds any reason to do so. But I can assure you, and as I say this as a legal advisor to the Honorable Chief Minister, that there is no political interference. There will be free, fair, transparent investigation to unravel the truth. All stakeholders' interests will be protected.
Mr. Naik, what do you have to say about this? You've got a clear, direct assurance coming in from the government.
Basically, that is what was needed, first of all. Nothing else. Even in the petition, we have sought for free and fair investigation. If that is being done, then we do not have any other problems.
So you believe right now, going by what's happened in the investigation so far, and at least based on the assurance that's come in, that there will be a fair investigation?
Now the assurance has come today. SIT is formed today. So we'll have to wait and see what the SIT is going to do. Based on that only we can analyze. If in case it is not going in a right direction, then we can approach the court at any time. So anyways, SIT have to work.
Agreed, and I think that's something Mr. Ponnana has also said. But Mr. Naik, considering what's happened in this particular case and the fact that it's also been playing out in court, do you think the onus is also on the court now to ensure that the truth emerges, particularly that an exhumation happens?
That I cannot comment. Basically, it is completely up to the court whether to take it up or not.
Okay, Mr. Naik and Mr. Ponnana, thank you very much for joining us here on India Today. Let me get you now a report of what exactly the former sanitation worker had to say. He put out a rather explosive testimony that's brought decades of buried secrets back into the public eye. And this is the detailed complaint which started off this entire movement seeking justice and the truth to emerge. We don't know his details yet. This is how he was produced in court. covered completely in black, so there would be no details of his identity that's known, because he says that his life is at risk. There are horrifying stories of mass murder, of sexual violence, of a systemic cover-up that's emerged. Because mind you, what we're talking about, these alleged murders and rape that's happened, is from decades ago. And so there are questions about whether something that happened between 1995 to 2014, whether now, so many years on, they can actually find the truth. Listen in to what the whistleblower said.
I am submitting this complaint with a heavy heart and deep moral burden. I can no longer carry the pain, threats, and guilt from the murders I witnessed and the bodies I was forced to bury. From 1995 to December 2014, I worked as a sanitation worker under the Dharmasthala temple administration. My duties began as routine cleaning near the Netravati river and surrounding areas, but over time they turned into something horrifying. I was ordered to dispose of dead bodies, many of which bore signs of brutal violence and sexual assault. At first, I believed the bodies were from suicides or accidents, but most were of women, many found naked or partially clothed, with signs of rape, strangulation, and acid burns. I saw girls as young as 12 with school uniforms but no undergarments, and women with faces burned by acid, all buried or cremated under my forced supervision. I witnessed the murder of beggars, often strangled using towels, in locked rooms. I buried or burned hundreds of bodies in and around Dharmasthala, many times using diesel to incinerate them completely. Around 1998, I was explicitly ordered by supervisors not to report these to police, but to secretly bury or burn the bodies. When I resisted, I was threatened and told, "You will be chopped into pieces like them. Your family too will be sacrificed." In 2014, after a member of my family was sexually harassed, I fled Dharmasthala with my family and have been hiding in a neighboring state since, constantly moving out of fear. Those involved are members of the Dharmasthala temple administration and staff, but I cannot name them in the complaint due to their power and threats. Once I receive protection under the Witness Protection Scheme, I am ready to reveal full names and specific roles of the accused. Those who were buried deserve a dignified funeral. I plead with the authorities to unearth these remains and allow proper rites to be performed. I pray that these horrific crimes to be investigated with urgency and justice be delivered to the countless voiceless victims. If I am killed or go missing before disclosing the names, the truth may die with me.
So this is the complaint in Kannada which the whistleblower handed out, based on which an FIR has been filed. But like I said, this is a story that's rocked Dharmasthala for the last 1 month. So let's take you through when exactly this came to light, this allegation that there's a mass burial site in Dharmasthala. On June 22nd, last month, is essentially when this former sanitation worker first spoke out, alleging that he was involved in these kind of burials that had taken place since 1995. Now, right after that, on June 27th, lawyers came together demanding a formal inquiry into these claims. And that's when, it came into everyone's attention that something like this had happened. Right after that, on July 3rd, is when this former sanitation worker went ahead and lodged a complaint saying he was forced to bury these bodies. So that's when he officially became the whistleblower of this particular case. He filed a complaint, and the very next day, the Dharmasthala police registered an FIR in this matter. Now, after that, as per, in fact, this complainant's request, he was granted protection under the Witness Protection Scheme. He said that this is one of the conditions based on which he would decide whether to speak out and name every person involved, because he said that there were influential people involved. He said that people within the temple, the Dharmasthala temple administration, which is a very, very powerful body in Dharmasthala, they were involved too. So he said, if I'm going to name them, I have to be given due protection. So he is given protection under the Witness Protection Scheme. This was after he was produced in court. His identity still remains under wraps, but at this point, he hasn't given any names just yet. A day after that, skeletal remains allegedly exhumed from the gravesite were presented in court. Why are we saying allegedly? Because this is something that the whistleblower brought with him. He said, this is the evidence that I'm presenting, that there are many such burials that have happened. Mind you, some skeletal remains have been brought. There's still an investigation, a forensic investigation that's underway on these remains. But having said that, this man claims that this is just one of many. He says that he's buried hundreds of bodies. So on July 11th, the first of much more such evidence was put out. A few days later, 3 days later, the Karnataka Women's Commission also stepped in, urging the Chief Minister to take note to form an SIT to probe the deaths. But we're still a few days away from that actually happening. July 14th is the first time the request came in for an SIT to be conducted. Right after that, you had many others speaking out about missing complaints. On July 15th, an MBBS student's mother filed a complaint saying her daughter had disappeared in Dharmasthala in 2003. Now, according to the mother, she had visited Dharmasthala and then had no word of exactly where she is. She had complained then, but she filed another complaint now, seeing the allegations that have come to the fore. Remember again that this man claimed that the burials that he was involved in was from 1995 all the way to 2014. So if 2003 this incident happened, there's a big question mark about whether this MBBS student was also one of the so-called victims that he refers to. Days later, on July 18th, the first reaction came in from Karnataka Chief Minister Siddharamaiah, who assured that there will be a detailed investigation and appropriate action. Right after that, 24 hours later, July 19th, 5 days after the first request came in for an SIT, the Karnataka government gave in to the demands, forming a special investigative team to probe the deaths, disappearances and sexual assault cases. Much needed because also there was a need for an impartial investigation. And then, yesterday was the first time the Dharmasthala temple body issued their statement. Breaking their silence, they came out with a statement seeking a fair, impartial investigation, saying we will fully cooperate, but we want complete fairness. Remember, BJP leaders have been questioning whether these allegations have come to the fore now because it's got some motive. They've said that they can't, that the temple administration must not be targeted unfairly. There should be no witch hunt. So there has been quite a bit of politics on that. As of today, the special investigative team has officially kicked off their investigation. So in the next few days, we should have more clarity on exactly what happens and how the investigation moves forward. But like I said, crucial and integral to really the truth emerging and what's happened in Dharmasthala is an exhumation. And so far, there's been no order from the court on that. There's been no order from the government. So with the SIT moving forward, the hope is that finally post that, the government will give the nod for an exhumation, because that will make it clear on whether this man is a whistleblower or whether he is someone with an agenda against the temple administration. The allegations he's levelled are extremely concerning, extremely worrying, and there will be questions about whether political interference is what ensured that from 1995 to 2014, this was completely kept on the down low and nobody knew. If hundreds of girls were being killed and their bodies were being buried, how is it that there was pin drop silence right up until now? These are questions that hopefully we will get answers on very, very soon.